You're watching TVC News at 10. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. We'll begin outside of the shores where Nigeria and Turkiye are taking their bilateral relationship several steps further with the signing of 9 key agreements during President Tinubu's state visit to Ankara. The deals cut across defense, trade, education, media, diplomacy, and social development, signaling a renewed push for strategic cooperation between both countries. TVC News State House correspondent Femi Aide has more.
Nigeria and Turkey have formalized a new chapter in their diplomatic and economic relationship as both countries signed 9 bilateral agreements in Ankara. The agreements were witnessed by President Bola Tinubu and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan during a high-level state visit aimed at strengthening long-standing ties between the two countries. Speaking after the signing ceremony, President Bola Tinubu said the agreements reflect Nigeria's commitment to partnerships that deliver tangible economic and security benefits.
What is very important to the two countries being discussed? Trade, business. How do we build an inclusive economy together? That's what we discuss. We discuss effort at terrorism, discuss how we could defeat elements of destabilization, banditry. We will work together to achieve that.
On his part, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan described Nigeria as a strategic partner in Africa, noting that the agreement would deepen cooperation and open new opportunities for both countries.
Terrorist organizations emerging, particularly in Africa's Sahel region, unfortunately pose a threat to the peace of the entire continent. We stand by the friendly people of Nigeria in their fight against terrorism under the leadership of President Tinubu. In fact, today, we addressed opportunities for closer cooperation in the fields of military training and intelligence.
Providing further insight into the significance of the agreements, Nigeria's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs said the deals align with Nigeria's foreign policy priorities of economic diplomacy and global engagements.
This meeting gave both countries an opportunity to strengthen, to deepen their bilateral connections, to strengthen various other sectors of cooperation, particularly in defense, in intelligence, sharing in counterterrorism measures.
Nigerian officials who participated in the signing include the Ministers of Defense, Foreign Affairs, Trade and Investment, and Women Affairs, alongside their Turkish counterparts. The federal government says the agreements are expected to translate into increased investment, stronger institutional collaboration, and expanded opportunities for Nigerians as both countries move to implement the signed frameworks. Femi Akonde, TVC News.
Now let's bring in Senior Special Assistant to President Tinubu on Foreign Affairs and Protocol, Ademola Oshodi, for more on this development. Mr. Oshodi, thanks for joining us on the news tonight. We're looking at 9 agreements here spanning defense, trade, education, media, and social development. From a foreign policy and protocol standpoint, which of these agreements would you say are the most strategic for Nigeria right now, and why?
Thank you for having me, Nifemi. Obviously, it is defense. Defense is the biggest crisis facing Nigeria. Sorry, security is the biggest crisis facing Nigeria at the moment. So any cooperation from any international body, country, group would be well received. We were dealing with a very, very difficult situation in parts of the Sahel in West Africa. We've been dealing with banditry in parts of Nigeria, and it's really been a challenge for governments in Nigeria for a while. Fortunately, the president Tinubu has taken it as a big step, as a with the political will to overcome it, and this has been quite obvious with this international engagement and the cooperation is receiving. Um, Turkey has also had its own challenges, security challenges. For the past 40 years, they've been dealing with the Kurdish People's Party, or PKK, a separatist ethnic group in its eastern flanks. They've managed to succumb them, and I believe Nigeria would have a lot to learn from their journey, and also be able to get vital equipments and intelligence on how to defeat our own insurgents in our country. And I believe, I hope, even beyond the borders of Nigeria, because anything that happens in West Africa
Indeed.
affects Nigeria in so many ways.
Let's explore the economic gains here. There's an Economy and Trade Joint Committee that's been agreed upon to drive a $5 billion trade target. Interesting, no doubt, but how do you think this committee will function differently from previous bilateral mechanisms to ensure that these agreements translate into real investments and jobs for Nigerians here?
Nifemi, there's a template. The administration has a template. Each partner we get, whether it's a multinational company or a foreign country, we have a template whereby the president goes in, we have the cooperation of the ministers, of heads of agencies, they come in from the rear and they close deals. They have MOUs, which later becomes agreements. You can see this that happened in countries with the president has gone to in the past, with Qatar, with United Arab Emirates, with France, and in many cases, in Brazil, which having that cross Atlantic direct flight. There's also been some breakthrough agreements we've had in South Africa. So that template is there. So it's quite easy to just plug and play. The president has taken very important key members of his executive, his cabinet, to close deals on 9 key sectors, including education, including women affairs, diaspora issues, and of course, even infrastructure. And of course, the big issue of defense, of security. So it is nothing new, what we've seen and how it's done in Turkey. Now is to ensure the follow-up on this MOUs, these agreements, and ensure we have investments into the country, into those vital sectors. There was an agreement whereby Nigeria and Turkey have said they will try and raise their business trade of $5 billion. This is rather ambitious, and it shows the will of both parties in ensuring that the countries they both represent provides the security and prosperity that we also desire.
Beyond the signed documents and ceremonial honors, what are the next concrete steps after Ankara? Are there timelines, follow-up engagements, or monitoring structures to ensure implementation and accountability on both sides?
Yes, that's why we have those ministers in place. That's why we have the Minister of Trade and Investment. That's why we have the Women Affairs. That's why we have the Minister of Defense. That's why we have the people in Foreign Affairs to come in. They will take on those responsibilities once the president leaves. It doesn't necessarily mean they have to be physically there, but they have now speak with their counterpart, with the fellow minister from their own from Turkey, and ensure the communication and deals and agreements are signed. So it's, again, that template I spoke to you about. But the most important aspect right now is to ensure, personally, we have strong binding defense cooperation agreement. We need those Turkish drones. Turkey is one of the biggest manufacturers of drones and counter-drone measures. Turkey has one of the biggest military force. They have footsteps in like almost 4 continents, in Libya, in Syria. They have in Somalia a big base. They have Libya. They have Iraq. So having that big player in the international scene on security and military can only help our own internal security crisis. So it's a win-win for Nigeria, especially on defense, and again on the 9 agreements on the economy.
Quite optimistic. We keep close tabs on the implementation. Senior Special Assistant to President Tinubu on Foreign Affairs and Protocol, Ademola Oshodi, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.